Good evening. It is Wednesday, May the 17th. It's about 7:15 p.m. This is meteorologist Shay Gibson bringing you a first official forecast for the CORA Offshore Savannah Cup race starting this Friday, part of the summer series sponsored by North Sails. Yeah, some things have changed. We talked about this on Monday about how the forecast is still 5 days out. Things will change, and they have. So a few things to look at are the northeast wedge will start to break down as we get into Friday morning. So that's a good thing. It won't be anything too rough, but we still need to watch the wave activity. Let me go ahead and put myself in the corner. Here's the website for CORA, and you can go here down to the Savannah Cup to find any information that you need about that and still register. It's not too late to register, so please do as soon as you can. If you want to see this weather information, you go to the skipper's info, go to the offshore wind and weather, and that's where this video will be posted as soon as it uploads from YouTube and or uploads to YouTube, and I can share the link on it. And I'll go onto the website and post it there, so you can see the latest forecast here on the CORA website if you miss it right when it comes out. So I'll also be at the skippers meeting tomorrow night, so hopefully I'll be seeing you there for a final briefing. If we look at our visible satellite right now, lots of storm activity. This is associated with a backdoor front that has stalled over the area. We have a lot of unstable air coming up across from the Gulf and in from the Atlantic. Just lots of storm activity ongoing right now. We had some hail earlier, a little bit of rotation, some of the clouds, no tornadoes or anything. But what's coming in behind that is high pressure is built down from the Great Lakes, from Canada over the Great Lakes, and it's forcing a moderate to strong east-northeast wedge down the coastline. This will start to impact us tomorrow after sunrise. We may have a few residual showers and storms tomorrow morning, but then this east-northeast, northeast wedge is going to work its way down into our areas. So if you look at the WPC surface map, backing up, we look at Thursday morning, this front will be stalling over us, and so we have this high pressure. This is going to be the player as this high slowly heads over to the Atlantic. We have this clockwise rotation of wind around it, circulation of wind around it, which is bringing that down. This high, if we watch as we go forward, we got to really watch the front that's going to be stalling over us as well. So tomorrow could be rather messy as we get into tomorrow morning because of that. This high is going to stay off to the northeast, off the New England coast by the time we get into Thursday afternoon, Thursday night. And watch this low. The earlier forecast for this was for a front to be offshore and a low embedded here. I talked about shortwave activity maybe backing into the coastline to bend the winds. And it looks like this low now is predicted to really hug the coastline. It'll be a weak low, nothing tropical in nature, but we'll still have to watch it because of the storm activity. But this low buckles up the coastline as we get into Friday morning and then heads straight up off the southeast North Carolina coast towards Outer Banks by Friday night and into, well, yeah, pretty much Friday night. As we get into Saturday morning, that low hangs up over Tidewater, Virginia. And then what's really going on behind it is we have high pressure that's going to be building this wind down. We have northerly winds that are going to be associated with it. So if we back up just a couple of frames here, we see that low with that counterclockwise movement, the north winds, and then high pressure over here building down north winds behind it too. We end up with a modest northerly flow. Really weak high pressure, weak low pressure, still produces a little bit of a gradient, a pressure gradient in between to give us just enough juice to have this race. And it's actually a better thing because we end up with a little less rain chance. We're still not going to rule out some isolated showers, but usually this cooler air coming down, it sort of stabilizes the environment, so we're not looking at as much storm activity. We'll have to definitely check things out tomorrow as we get closer in time to make sure there's not going to be a lot of storm activity or anything overnight. But I think for now we're pretty safe with just a modest northerly wind through the day, maybe some cloud cover, and maybe some cooler temps as well. So that's going to be the call. If we look at the tempest right now, we have a lot of lightning, real-time lightning. These strikes are positive and negative strokes, what you're looking at here. But besides the point, I'm just going to pick the CHR 60 for a point of reference for our forecast. Run all the models. It looks like the GFS, the NAM, they're pretty much in agreement with this northerly flow, except for the NAM 3, which is out to lunch doing west. That definitely is still a possibility with this west leaning or veering northwest through the day Friday. But for now, we're going to follow the HRRR with the north wind starting about 10 to 14 knots by the time the first race goes off at 2 p.m. It looks like the NAM 3 and the NAM, the HRRR both have the same speeds, but I still think we're going to have a little bit more agreement with the GFS, the NAM 12, even the CMC, the Canadian model, all on board with the northerly fetch. We may be seeing some oscillation between north-northwest and north-northeast. Do 0 degrees, maybe over to 20, back over to 340. It just really depends on how close to the coast that low is going to be hugging in, or if it stays a little farther offshore, we could end up with more of a north-northeast flow. So this is all, stuff we'll talk about tomorrow night at the skippers meeting. But the main theme is that we keep a modest northerly flow for much of the day and even into tonight, even into Friday night. So that's at least some positive news that we get it all the way through the night. The northerly fetch should help you down the coast of Savannah throughout the day and into the night. If we look at CORMP, if you haven't gone to this website, CORMP is awesome. They have some really good wave data. They have the CAP2 wave. These are tethered. They're not even tethered moorings, really. They're just moored about a couple hundred yards away from each of these main buoys, and they're just wave sensors. You can see the picture over here on the right. These two are fairly new. This one and this one are fairly new. They just within last year, and this one they just installed yesterday. It's a good timing. This is a good website to see these waves in real time, especially as you're near the coast. You'll still have a cell signal. You can probably look these up if you're hugging the coastline to a certain degree. You may be able to have enough reception to pick up the wave action out here. So to definitely check that out. Looking at the currents at the harbor entrance between the jetty and the harbor entrance, it looks like the flood is going to be at 5:34 p.m. So you'll be at an ebb at a 12:21 and then slack tide around 3 o'clock. And so the currents will be minimal during that time on the way out of the harbor. And then we see the max flood really rushing in about 2.1 knots, maybe a little stronger. I actually add about 0.2 or 3 to that just because we know that the current and the tides are going to be a little bit high too. Look at the tidal fluxing. Even into Friday, we see above normal. We're up here at, whoops, I'm sorry, I just messed that up. And my thing blocks I can't get up to the thing to remove it. But either way, you see that the flood is right there, 2.1 knots. And so we're at a higher than normal. So at about 0.2, about 2.3, 2.4 knots for your flood. If we look at the near shore, now this is one of the areas that I definitely want to talk about. And I'm going to pick the buoy 41076. It's a good point of reference for wave action. I could do the Fripp, but that's a little close to the coast. Most of you will be offshore a good bit. We look at the forecast out 5:19 early morning, midnight. We're up to 8 feet at 18 miles out. So just know that this that east northeast wedge is going to be kicking up quite a swell from the northeast at a very short period. So we're looking at 5 to 7 seconds, right? As we get into Friday afternoon, when the swell heights start to come down, you may still see some 4-foot action out there farther out. I would try to stay as close to the coast as you can and get out of that. You're going to have higher swell, residual storm swell from that northeast wedge for a couple of days, right? And then that's going to be bleeding down by the time you get to the race start, probably 4 to 6 feet. It could lay down a little bit more closer to the coast. You're looking at 3 to 4, but the period's going to be right between 6 and 8 seconds for the most intents and purposes. Even though overnight hours, the swell lays down even more. Get those northerly winds, and what happens is you get a shadow effect, right? And so the winds don't help the swell very much, and the swell dies even faster. So I think closer to the coast, you're going to see the swell heights dwindling quicker than you would well offshore. And then the period will come up a little bit more too. So it'll be a little smoother on the inside if you choose that track. I know it's a little bit difficult on the northerly wind, but I think like within about 7 or 8 nautical miles, probably in a lot better shape than would be pretty far offshore. Air temperatures, you're going to be right around 76 tomorrow, going up to 80 on Friday, down to 64. So bring a light jacket or so for the Friday night excursion. 64 is going to feel a little bit chilly after this hot spell or the heat spell we've had lately. And that'll do it for the forecast. So again, I'm going to call for northerly winds off the coast, north between northeast, northwest, sometimes north at times at true 0 degrees, and we're going to be running about 10 to 14 knots to start, falling to 8 to 12 and holding through the evening and nighttime. But I will see everybody tomorrow at the skippers meeting. For those of you who attend, I'll have a much better report, much better idea what's going to happen on Friday, and hopefully we can all mesh it together. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. But otherwise, I'll see you then tomorrow night. You guys take care, and until next time, thanks.